what's your definition of open government data?
Open government data that works is going to be data that is non-personal, so we don't look to release personal data. Non-personal data that is either generated by or used for the completion of a public task. Now, if you think about what public tasks governments do, it will relate to the money they spend on behalf of their taxpayers, or the transportation systems they run, or their education system, or their health system. The services that are paid for by the taxpayer, that the government runs, operates, or contracts out, data that helps those services run or is generated by them, this is non-personal public data.
Where do you see the relevance of open government data in your professional work?
So, open data has relevance in many different dimensions. I think that it is the case that you wouldn't have one particular reason for releasing open data. You can release open data because it makes government more transparent, or it makes the process more efficient, or somebody can use it to build a new service that nobody else had thought of in government, or you can use it to get the information improved by asking people to improve the information that government holds. Many different reasons. So when I look at information releases in my own professional and research life, I will be using data of different sorts for different purposes.
What's your most favorite application of open government data?
So I think there are a number of great applications. One that is very powerful, I think, is the UK's decision to release all of the crime data that is reported to police forces every month. And it's reported at the level of the street on which it happens. So if there are car thefts, or if there are burglaries, or if there are occasions of antisocial behaviour, this is now all published. You can see where the stuff has happened, not who has done it, but at least the basic map of where the problems exist. And people can now start to make decisions and choices on the basis of that. On the other side, we have some great transportation applications which I can now freely download that allow me to just cut my travel plans more efficiently. So I can know when the bus is about to leave from the coffee shop I'm in to get me to the tube station, to catch the tube just in time. And in the UK transportation system, that's worth knowing.
One thing which struck me, you mentioned it maybe in just a few sentences in your talk, there's available the energy consumption of public
departments, ministries.
Could you maybe in a few sentences explain how this is working and what's its effect?
I think this is an area where the infrastructure that we're seeing emerge, which is increasingly interconnected, gives us new opportunities. So in the UK, and I think increasingly in a number of countries, power meters, smart meters are being put into buildings so that you can understand the energy consumption profile. So there'll be a meter in there that is measuring the electricity or the gas usage. Now, big public buildings are obliged to have these in, and the experiment in the UK was to take all of the major ministries, the 14 or 15 ministries, and produce that in real time. And once people were looking at their consumption rates, and they could see where they were in the league table, because this data can be normalized for the size of the building and the number of people, it started to change behavior because people realized that they didn't want to be bottom of that league table, so maybe they'd switch the lights out or be a little bit more careful about how high they turn the thermostats. And it's effectively providing information that people can act on. And I think we're going to find increasingly that this sort of information is available if people choose to use it, whether it's in a public or private context.
If you would have to give maybe 3, 4, 5 kind of like advice coming from your experience to people interested in pushing and forwarding the idea of open data, open government data in Switzerland, what would they be?
Okay, one of the most basic principles of open data is that it doesn't have to happen just at the state level. If the government gets behind it, that's great. But a regional authority can get behind it, a canton, a city, a small community. You all have data that can be published and is useful and available to people. So don't imagine it has to happen at any particular scale. Okay. The second thing is not to regard this as just some kind of IT project, that this is about persuading people to adopt a different view on the data they have, to change the setting on the dial, to think, I'm not going to wait to be asked for this information, but I'll publish it anyway, unless there is a reason not to, such as privacy or some issue to do with security. And I think that if you begin to set these public principles in place, that you will presume to publish, that you will publish it in a timely manner, and another major principle is you publish it in a way that machines can understand as well as people. So people think they have done the job when they put up a document online on the web, but actually the real power here is when the information in the document is represented in such a way that a programmer can pull the information out and integrate it. Now that is called being in a machine-readable format, crucial. And a final piece of the jigsaw, look at the conditions under which you release the data. If you're going to make the data available, don't put some little clause in there that says you can use it, but only for your purposes. You can use it, but you can't make money out of it. You can use it, but take the but out. Allow people to use the data in any way they think they can to add value to it.
Last question. What do you think you will take home from here?
Well, the excitement that you find in any place that is suddenly becoming aware, excited and committed to the idea of open data. There are people here in Switzerland now who have been doing this, pushing the idea, who will now feel energized and hopefully joined by other people to give them the resources to make a difference. And as you do things here in Switzerland, you have natural advantages that don't exist in other countries. Every country will have some aspect of its constitution, the way it organizes itself, that actually helps in an open data context. Some things have to be achieved and done and worked out, but we have found as we've gone from country to country, region to region, city to city, that everybody can learn from everybody else. So become part of the wider open data community.
If the more data that's available out there, I guess the more important intelligent forms of curating, of cataloging, etc. Are necessary, because otherwise, I mean, you don't find the data that maybe you're looking for. You don't know that it's really already out there. How would you approach this facet, this aspect of the whole problem?
Well, in fact, there is a very important precondition to even that, which is an important part of open data is how can you know what to ask for unless you know what there is? So actually one of the really important things to consider in these programs is how do I build a data asset register? So what is there that I can even ask for or convert into a format that I can use? And then if you're going to have such a register, how do you represent the information about the information you have? So how you build catalogues, how you decide on what information you need to include on those catalogues to make them searchable and findable and understandable, critical piece of thinking that needs to be done. And again, there are communities who do think about these things, have done in the past. Library science is one example, archival archivists are another. People working in the computing industries where they do have to think about cataloguing schemes are another. So there is knowledge out there, but I think it's important to ask yourself, if I produce it, how do I find it? How do I organize it? And again, there are open source solutions, for example, to many of these questions.